This is the frontal or Nazian view, and this is the horizontal view or vertex view. And how the atlas, instead of being level, is tilted. So we're going to take our instrument, put on the atlas, bring the atlas back down to level, where the atlas is level, the cephalic line or the skull is vertical, and then the cervical spine is vertical. It's what we call the head, the atlas, and the cervical spine in an orthogonal position. This is our scanning palpation chart. This chart shows the head and the atlas here in the cervical spine. The head should sit vertical on the atlas should sit level, and the cervical spine should be vertical to be in an orthogonal position. Your x-rays show that the atlas has displaced and subluxated and moved out of position. This stylus is a stylus that's similar to the one we use on the adjusting instrument. Is placed on the transverse process or the tip of the atlas, and then the percussion force is applied here to bring the atlas back down to a level position.
Dr. Sweat, who also has a genius for invention, designed a percussion adjusting device known as the Atlas Orthogonal Percussion Instrument. This instrument is used by chiropractors worldwide who have received extensive specialized training in its program and operation. This high-tech instrument eliminates guesswork in calculating the proper angle of adjustment to be applied to the atlas. Dr. Sweat is also responsible for the development of a state-of-the-art chiropractic x-ray system which is used by the Atlas Orthogonal doctor. Technically, the instrument delivers a mechanical impulse to a metal stylus by means of a pressure-controlled actuator. The strength of the impulse is determined by the degree of compression applied to the device, controlling the actuator back pressure. This impulse is transmitted to a stylus, exciting a compressional wave in the stylus material. The stylus, which is interfaced with the patient, then applies a portion of the wave to the atlas in order to accomplish the appropriate adjustment. In layman terms, the instrument allows the doctor to adjust the atlas angle with a very high degree of precision while applying minimal physical pressure. This unique feature eliminates most patient discomfort during treatment.
This is the Atlas percussion adjusting instrument. Top of the head's to the right, the stylus is over the atlas. Here's the adjustment. Now we're going to examine the C1 and the C2 nerve roots and the cervical spine. We're going to examine C1 and C2 and the rest of the cervical spine, and they're not as sore as they were, and they're on the right order. Okay, now I'd like for you to lie on your back, and we want to measure the legs and see if the legs came down level or close to level. And we bring these to the center and observe those, and it looks like the legs came level for us, so it looks like the adjustment did exactly what we wanted it to do.
X-rays are taken before and after your initial adjustment. These allow your doctor to confirm that correct atlas adjustment has been accomplished.
Walter, this is a model of your spine. Our x-rays show us that your atlas is misaligned to the right. So we're going to lay you on your side, bring our adjusting instrument in, and correct the misalignment, like so. This is a percussion adjusting instrument. There's a solenoid inside of here that comes down and hits this stylus like a hammer. Sets up a compressional energy wave that travels through the stylus without any forward excursion. And 3 pounds come out the tip of the stylus. Put your finger here and feel this. That's all there is to it. Now, Walter, I'd like you with your right side up. Okay, now let's sit up again. That's all there is to it. That's as rough as it gets, Walter.
There are many health problems which may be a direct result or secondary product of a misaligned atlas. If you are suffering any of these symptoms, Atlas Orthogonal Adjustment treatments may help you. In most cases, you can expect a 50% improvement within a 4-week period.
Now that you've watched that previous presentation, what I'd like to add is just a little bit of a curiosity ditty that I know of. If you went to any research department of any chiropractic college and you walked in there and said, "What do you people do in here?" 80% of what they do is they work on the atlas. That's what they consider research. Now, in 1919, at Palmer Chiropractic College in Davenport, Iowa, which is pretty much the longest standing chiropractic college, it's been in existence for about 90 years. In 1919, the man who ran the research department was doing Atlas work. In 1920, they made him president of the school. In 1920, he announced to the students, you can't adjust anything but the Atlas. That policy of only adjusting one bone continued from 1920 to 1952. For 32 years, the students couldn't adjust anything but the Atlas. So all the presentation that you just listened to was based on all the research that came out of that 32-year period. Because if 32 years goes by and you can only adjust one bone, trust me, you get really good at adjusting that one bone. And that's the secret to one of those techniques. Now, the interesting part for me is when I get my Atlas adjusted on the machine that you've already seen, mine is adjusted as 18 degrees this way and 6 degrees this way. That kind of precision is impossible to do with a hand or any kind of a machine. The machines that you've seen in the pictures can do that kind of precision. But the point is that if you adjust me as 18 and 6, I can come back tomorrow and I'll still have an even leg. If you alter that by only 2 degrees, in a half hour I have a short leg and I have a headache and a low back pain. So why even do it? If you're not going to do it precisely and right, don't even waste your time. But whoever can level out those legs for the longest is going to keep you the most stable. That's what I want you to be, is the most stable for your whole life. Another common question I get is, you're taking these x-rays of me. I don't really like x-rays, don't want them. I understand they're needed for the technique, but how often do you have to take them? And I'm just going to give you one example of one gentleman who loves what I do, loved what I do 10 years ago and still loves what I do. Because when that little tilt that I showed you in the little diagram I explained already, his Atlas was tilted like this. When I measured it on the x-rays, it was 14 millimeters, which is about this big. Then I adjusted him and I took another picture and it came down to 11. That was good, I like that. My goal is to make him even, but for that one first visit, he went from 14 to 11. A couple years went by and he loved what I did, but his adjustment wouldn't hold for a day. So we took some new x-rays. Our starting point at that point was not 11, but it was 7. So in that couple years, it had come down a little bit more. The next x-ray I took after I was through adjusting him, it came down to 4. Well, I like that. 2 years went by, the adjustment wouldn't hold for a day. And still, I'm seeing him less often and less often, but it wouldn't hold for a day. Our starting point at this x-ray was 3 millimeters. The next picture came down to 1. Well, I like that. 2 years went by again, it wouldn't hold for a day. Our starting point was 2 millimeters, and it went down to -2. Oops, took him too far. The next year went by, it wouldn't hold for a day. Now we're going from 2 to 0, which is perfectly right where I want it. The whole idea with there is, first I adjusted him here, then I adjusted him here, then oops, down here, then here. And this is where he's the most stable. That's the idea. That's the only time that I have to take x-rays again, if the adjustment won't hold for a 24-hour period. But if you love what I do, I'll just continue using the numbers that have worked fine for you so far.